Hi friends! Halloween is just around the corner, and even though it looks different this year, it doesn't need to be entirely canceled. No matter what your household has decided to do about trick-or-treating, there's no reason you can't get into the spirit by dressing in costume. When I was a kid, Halloween costumes were pretty uninspired. Plastic masks and impossibly hot and sweaty ponchos, usually of a TV or movie character. At the time, I promise you, these seemed so cool. Looking back, they were actually pretty scary, and not at all environmentally friendly. If you didn't get one of these plastic wonders, you were likely to pick something that you could put together easily, like a scarecrow or a ghost. But there was always a chance that you might pick something that we now realize was not kind to others, and that definitely is not a good look. Since then, Halloween costumes have improved and gotten more complex, and so has our understanding of what is and is not culturally sensitive. Still, sometimes we might pick something that is hurtful to a group of people, and that's definitely not what we as ethical humanists strive for. So, before you show off your look, I wanted to bring you some tips and tricks for picking a costume that's culturally considerate. Tip 1. Instead of picking a person, consider picking a thing. By choosing an animal or inanimate object costume, you're reasonably unlikely to offend anyone by accident. If you're afraid that non-humans aren't exciting, don't worry. You'd be surprised how easily humans find emotional connections to non-human things. Your costume will be a hit. Tip 2. Get a job. If you insist on picking a human costume, consider someone who has a specific job to do. Scientists, postal workers, doctors and nurses, teachers, service workers, librarians, and so many more worthy of celebrating. And sometimes you might just stumble upon exactly the right worker for a job like 2020. There are, of course, things to watch out for here. For example, I personally believe it's just socially smart to avoid costumes of religious figures or rituals. And it's always important to take current events into account if you want to avoid controversy. Tip 3. Don't be a stereotype. Costumes that rely on stereotypes about a group are just plain not funny. Don't choose costumes that are based on sexism, racism, ableism, or other generalized ideas about a group of people. These are examples of cultural appropriation. It's something I've thought a lot about recently. This week I spoke to a mom whose daughter desperately wants to be dressed as Disney's Moana for this Halloween. Because Moana is Polynesian and her daughter is white, the mom was worried that the costume might be culturally appropriative. After a lot of discussion with other parents, and also with members of the Polynesia community, most people involved agreed that it's usually okay, and sometimes even appreciated, to dress as a specific character of a different culture, if you do not change the color of your own skin and you play the character with respect. But these topics are tricky, so no matter what, it's important to have a conversation with your grown-ups before you make a final decision. Halloween is supposed to be about fun, and we're not making it fun when we're not being considerate of our core values. And, oh, look what we have here. It's our very first 2 core values. Every person is important and unique, and every person deserves to be treated fairly and kindly. Overall, as Halloween approaches, give your costume a critical look so you can make sure that on the big night, you'll be respecting uniqueness and treating people kindly. And that brings us to our Seek Quest of the week. We want to see your costumes. I know you've put a lot of thought into them, and it's hard to know how far and wide you'll be able to show them off this year, so share it with us, your Ethical Society community. Please fill up my inbox at seek@ethicalstl.org with pictures of you as your Halloween 2020 alter ego, and tell us why you picked that costume. We can't wait to see what you've come up with. Thanks for joining us again for another week in this wild world, and thanks for sharing your stories. We really couldn't do this without you.